Karma, the lost Christian doctrine. The mystery of death and resurrection. Every great religion speaks of it. Every soul yearns for it. The earth and all of its creatures speak of it in their constant dance with life and decay, pain and suffering, rebirth and reincarnation, as the circle of life constantly spins and spins, creating opportunities at breaking the karmic burden which plagues each human life. Have you ever wondered about karma and whether it exists or not? Karma is traditionally thought of as a distinctive feature of Hinduism as well as Buddhism, with the definition being an individual's mental and physical movements within time and space and the consequences of these actions. The reality of past lives and of reincarnation are an essential aspect of karma, with these actions and their subsequent consequences accumulating throughout the course of the constant return to this planet. Existence is essentially the work of moving beyond these past actions within time and space and overcoming the negative consequences accumulated within the lifetimes of these past lives. The doctrine of karma has not been associated with Christian doctrine, but an authentically open-minded investigation into the cosmic nature of the origins of early Christianity and its deep connections to the mystery religion and the Essenes reveal a deep belief in the reality of karma within the first whispers of Christian thought. Within the investigation of this early thought comes sages like George Gurdjieff, P.D. Ouspensky, Boris Moraviev, Dr. Charles Ashnan, and Robin Amos, all giants within the field of esoteric Christianity. Let's start with Ouspensky, whose pre-Gurdjieff work, Tertium Organum, still resonates as a seminal work within the Esoteric Brotherhood. In the 13th chapter, he speaks briefly of the concept of karma, with a reference to a book by Mabel Collins entitled Light on the Path. Within this short section, he speaks of the illusion of time when he writes, "The idea of karma, evolved in the remote antiquity of Hindu philosophy, is the idea of the unbroken sequence of phenomena. Each phenomena, however small, is a link in the endless and unbroken chain stretching from the past into the future, passing from one sphere into another, now appearing in the guise of physical phenomena, now appearing in the phenomenon of consciousness. If we examine the idea of karma from the standpoint of our theory of time and space of many dimensions, the interconnection of separate events will cease to appear to us miraculous and incomprehensible. Since events, even the most distant from one another in time, are in contact with the fourth dimension, this means that in reality they take place simultaneously as cause and effect, and the walls dividing them are nothing more than an illusion which our weak mind is unable to overcome. Things are linked together not by time, by an inner connection, by an inner relationship. And time cannot separate things which are inwardly close and follow one from another. Certain other properties of these things make them appear to us divided by the ocean of time, but we know that this ocean has no real existence, and we begin to understand how and why events of one millennium can have a direct influence on the events of another millennium." The modern mystic Dr. Charles Ashnan speaks of this concept, but utilizes a different term with a different connotation when he calls this pre-existence. He says that we as Homo sapiens have all pre-existed. In other words, our cosmic origin is not this terrestrial planet, but another realm and reality teeming with life. Dr. Ashnan says that our time here on Earth, quote, is our time to rethink who we are and what we want and what our responsibilities are in this existence from God's mind, end quote. Our job in this existence is to, quote, remember the transcendent wisdom already given to us, end quote. We are to say to God, Lord, You have given me this space, and I will make a sanctuary of this space, he says. There is something luminous about the physical world. It is caught in the dance with the divine. Dr. Ashnan believes that the early church fathers knew about this doctrine of preexistence, with the belief that education as the process of awakening this knowledge already contained within each of us. He believed we need spiritual technicians to teach us how to ignite this fuel or pre-existent knowledge within us. We need teachers of this knowledge. Thus, our time here on earth is to be spent preparing for death, preparing for that moment when we will be judged not only for our actions in this lifetime, but the accumulation of the past lives with a sense of repentance over any accumulation of negative actions and thoughts. Boris Moraviev, in his classic trilogy on the Esoteric Brotherhood entitled Gnosis, speaks of this hidden, not forgotten, doctrine of karma. He writes in chapter 14 of Gnosis 1, quote, "The principle of karma, the nemesis of the Greeks, the archangel Uriel, of the Christian celestial hierarchy according to the tradition, one of the 7 spirits of God, who alone in the universe never changes. He supervises the restoration of broken equilibrium at every degree on the cosmic scale." Moraviev speaks of this burden of karma within our existence and the act of overcoming this accumulation of this burden when he speaks of repentance. Moraviev quotes from the Philokalia in St. Isaac the Syrian when he says, quote, "There is no unforgivable sin except sin without repentance," end quote. Moraviev writes this, "Repentance is above all an act of consciousness, resulting naturally in benevolent and effective compensation for the error that has been made. This is the theory. In practice, it is not so simple. It requires the minutest study of each case," end quote. In other words, an intense examination of our karmic burden and subsequent attention on this through the eros of repentance will clear the ledger of this karmic burden and allow us to pass through to the next stage of our cosmic existence on the ray of creation. The eros of repentance is therefore one of the most important attitudes within our inner life as we use this time on earth wisely as a time of intense examination of not only the actions and thoughts of this life, but of our past lives and our pre-existence.